Good morning, America. It's difficult today on my other channel, Awakening Israel. I just uploaded the video. I start off addressing Israel, but that message really is for the entire country as a whole. However, it was about the first Christmas day, the first recorded December 25th in all of the scriptures, and it is not what you think it is. So you might want to go there and find out why we celebrate, in part, why we celebrate on December 25th. His real birthday, I believe, was September 11th. The evil ones do not do anything unless it has meaning. Year of his birth, 3 or 4 BC. So what I want to bring to your attention today is the fact that we are on the verge of a nuclear war, and we've earned it. And this is God's judgment on the United States of America. By screwing up as we have and allowing ourselves to be ruled over by the evil ones and doing away with the law, we're going to get nuked. Look at this administration. Do you trust it? Do you have confidence and faith? I don't. For one, they practice pipeline diplomacy. They don't build pipelines. They blow them up. As a matter of fact, the head honcho there, Blinken, he actually wrote a book about pipeline diplomacy a long time ago and just how you rule things by destroying the pipelines. So I believe it was he who decided to blow up Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. And I think he should be held accountable for his crimes. It's crimes against the whole world. He's driving us to this nuclear war. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from you a very rare book. And I'm going to read it to you in the modern English. And I'm going to tell you what it means, what I think it means. And let's start off with the punchline. Let's start off with the nukes, okay? Well, this is what we're headed towards. This is 2 Esdras, chapter 12, verse 3. This is not the whole verse. The whole body of the eagle was burned. Now, who is the eagle today? That's right. However, this eagle I'm going to read about has got 2 personalities, if you will, to it. There's a good side and a bad side to it, in my opinion. And I need you to understand that the eagle that was written about here is what the United States of America, or one of its many corporations, I believe there are 4 or more, has become. And this is going to be a wake-up call for Americans. Okay? You need to understand, as much as you think you're good and the people around the world love you, you're not good. And the people around the world have not loved you in decades. The last time you probably were loved would have been about 1960. That's right. I believe the whole body of the eagle was burned refers to the United States of America getting nuked from one end to the other end. That is the fate we deserve as Sodom 2.0. As Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0, that's what we have earned. We are worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah's sin is not really explained very well in the Bible. It's just mentioned, and God used nukes on them. We found the destruction level, and we found a crystal that only exists on nuclear blast sites. That was a little over a decade ago. So this particular passage out of Esdras, which is another name for Ezra, and we're looking at this for the history and for the prediction if you will, since this is the Dr. Kent Show. Welcome to it. I'm Dr. John Taylor Kent. I'm a retired psychologist. My last gig was in corrections. And I was humbled, taken out of my profession, out of the field. A combined attack of the liberals, which we'll get into in the future at some point. But that's not what's at hand, right? What's at hand and what's important is the survival of the nation. Not my survival. I've had a pretty good long life. It hasn't been all been good, especially once the liberals went after me. However, I was attacked and the attack was permitted. Why? So I could bring this to you. My job is to awaken Israel, our brothers and sisters in Israel, in time to save Western civilization. You see, the house of Israel became Western civilization. The Bible is the book upon which is the foundations. This is the foundations of all Western civilization. And unfortunately, we've misapplied it and we've misused it. The founders of the United States of America, our founders were all Bible readers. They were all educated in the Bible. Some of them didn't like it very much. Thomas Paine probably would have a little bit of a fit. And I know a lot of you people claim that Thomas Jefferson was a deist and he wasn't a believer. Well, you know, they mischaracterized what he did. He basically took out all the miracles out of the Gospels to prove a point that when you take those all out, Jesus is still a good guy. Okay? It still works, even without the miracles in there. So it was quite an exercise. I hope I get to hold and handle his Bible someday. I hope I get to open it up and read it. I'll be very careful with it. I understand it's a national treasure. Now, Esdras is the same guy Ezra in the main Bible. And here we have two books of Esdras. One Esdras, two Esdras. One Ezra, two Ezra. And what I want to point to you is chapter 11. Because my initial inclination was to think this was the United States of America. And then my belief, my thinking took a little bit of a turn. This eagle is symbolic of the evil ones that are running the planet today, of the last of the beast systems. And of course, this fact was to be hidden until these days, which are upon us now. So we might be able to stop this thing, believe it or not. And so I do have my Apocrypha books from the original Old English, all dog-eared, highlighted, underlined for chapters 11 and 12. 12 appears to be the interpretation, 11 appears to be the symbolism. So let me proceed here. I'll try to stick with the, it's easier to read, but I'll try to stick with the modern English version of this. Okay, so let's start with the ending. Let's start with the interpretation. This is a vision that is explained to the prophet Ezra by the angel. It's given to him first and then it's explained to him. And you have to understand that Ezra proceeds in the footsteps of Daniel. So Daniel was shown things that he wasn't allowed to write about. Esdras was allowed to write about it. And we Protestants saw so fit, thought it was so important that we removed these 14 books from the Bible. The original King James Bible had this in it. And there's problems with it. I really look forward to the time when we can produce a better version of the Apocrypha. So, chapter 12, 2 Esdras 12, verse 10. He, the angel, said to me, "This is the interpretation of this vision that you have seen. The eagle you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth king that appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. But it was not explained to him as I now explain it to you and have explained it. The days are coming when a kingdom shall rise on the earth, and it shall be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have been before it. And 12 kings shall reign in it, one after another. But the second that is to reign shall hold sway for a longer time than any other of the 12. This is the interpretation of the 12 wings that you saw. So we do have it interpreted in 12. But that's not so important because this, well, it is important because it shows you the fact that it looks like we get to overcome it. But the problem is that I originally thought that this eagle was the United States of America. It's a three-headed eagle. And what we find is that there's three heads to the beast system today. One being in Washington, D.C., another being the city of London, inside London, this is a separate jurisdiction, and the other being the city of Rome, the Vatican, inside the city of Rome, it's a separate jurisdiction. These are the three heads of the beast. It's very easy, is it not? So let's not call this the United States of America. However, this is what we have become, and this is where we're at. So I will read this to you, so you'll have the benefit of it. And I know that this isn't the purpose of the Dr. Kent show, but we're going to cross over. So you get this gift here on Christmas Eve, your Christmas Eve. I don't celebrate it. It is not a good day. Christ was not born in the dead of winter. There was no snow on the ground. Christ was born during the Feast of Tabernacles, I believe on September 11th, 3 or 4 BC. And Esdras was having dreams and visions at this point. On the second night I had a dream. I saw rising from the sea an eagle that had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. I saw it spread its wings over the whole earth. World domination. We have it today. You're international bankers, folks. And all the winds of heaven blew upon it, and the clouds were gathered around it. I saw that out of its wings there grew opposing wings, but they became little, puny wings, but its heads were at rest. The middle head was larger than the other heads, but it too was at rest with them. Then I saw that the eagle flew with its wings, and it reigned over the earth and over those who inhabit it. And I saw how all things under heaven were subjected to it, and no one spoke against it. Not a single creature that was on the earth. Except Dr. Kitts, huh? Then I saw the eagle rise upon its talons, and it uttered a cry to its wings, saying, Do not all watch at the same time. Let us each sleep in its own place, and watch in its turn, but let the heads be reserved for the last. And I looked again, and saw that the voice did not come from its heads, but from the middle of its body. And I counted its rival wings, and there were 8 of them. As I watched, one wing on the right side rose up, and it reigned over all the earth. And after a time its reign came to an end, and it disappeared, so that even its place was no longer visible. Then the next wing rose up and reigned, and it continued to reign a long time. While it was reigning, its end came also, so that it disappeared like the first. And a voice sounded and said to it, Listen to me, you who have ruled the earth all this time. I announce this to you before you disappear. After you, no one shall rule as long as you have ruled, not even half as long. Then the third wing raised itself up and held the rule as the earlier ones had done, but it also disappeared. And so it went with all the wings. They wielded power one after another, and then were never seen again. I kept looking, and in due time the wings that followed also rose up on the right side in order to rule. There were some of them that ruled, yet disappeared suddenly, and others of them that rose up, but did not hold the rule. And after this I looked and saw that the 12 wings and the 2 little wings had disappeared, and nothing remained on the eagle's body except the 3 heads that were at rest and 6 little wings. As I kept looking, I saw that the 2 little wings separated from the 6 and remained under the head that was on the right side, but 4 remained in their place. Then I saw that these little wings planned to set themselves up and hold the rule. As I kept looking, one was set up, but suddenly disappeared. A second also, but this disappeared more quickly than the first. While I continued to look, the 2 that remained were planning between themselves to reign together. And while they were planning, one of the heads that were at rest, the one that was in the middle, suddenly awoke. It was greater than the other 2 heads, and I saw how it allied the 2 heads with itself, and how the head turned with those that were with it and devoured the 2 little wings that were planning to reign. Moreover, this head gained control of the whole earth with much oppression, dominated its inhabitants. It had greater power than over the world than all the wings that had gone before. After this I looked again and saw the head in the middle suddenly disappear, just as the wings had done, but the 2 heads remained, and also in like manner ruled over the earth and its inhabitants. And while I looked, I saw the head on the right side devour the one on the left. Then I heard a voice saying to me, "Look in front of you and consider what you see." When I looked, I saw what seemed to be a lion rousing from the forest, roaring, and I heard how it uttered a human voice to the eagle, and spoke, saying, "Listen, and I will speak to you. The Most High says to you, are you not one that remains of the 4 beasts that I had made to reign my world, so that the end of my times might come through them? You, the 4th beast, has come, have conquered all the beasts that have gone before, and you have held sway over the world with great terror, and over the earth with grievous oppression. And for so long you have lived on the earth with deceit. You have judged the earth, but not with truth. For you have oppressed the meek and injured the peaceable. You have hated those who tell the truth and have loved liars. You have destroyed the homes of those who brought forth fruit, and have laid low the walls of those who did you no harm. Your insolence has come up before the Most High, and your pride to the Mighty One. The Most High has looked at his times. Now they have ended, and his ages have reached completion. Therefore, you, eagle, will surely disappear, you and your terrifying wings, your most evil little wings, your malicious heads, your most evil talons, and your whole worthless body, so that the whole earth, freed from your violence, may be refreshed and relieved, and may hope for the judgment and mercy of him who made it. Chapter 12. While the lion was saying these words to the eagle, I looked up and saw that the remaining head had disappeared. The 2 wings that had gone over to it rose up and set themselves up to reign, and their reign was brief and full of tumult. And when I looked again, they were already vanishing. The whole body of the eagle was burned, and the earth was exceedingly terrified. Then I awoke in great perplexity of mind and great fear, and I said to my spirit, You have brought this unto me, because you searched out the ways of the Most High. I am still weary in mind and very weak in my spirit, and not even a little strength is left in me. because of the great fear with which I have been terrified tonight. Therefore I will now entreat the Most High, that he may strengthen me to the end. Then I said, O sovereign Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, and if I have been accounted righteous before you beyond many others, and if my prayer has indeed come up before your face, strengthen me and show me, your servant, the interpretation and meaning of this terrifying vision, that you may fully comfort my soul. For you have judged me worthy to be shown the end of the times and the last events of the times. He said to me, this is the interpretation of the vision that you have seen. The eagle that you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth kingdom that appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. But it was not explained to him as I now explain it to you, or have explained it. The days are coming when a kingdom shall rise on the earth, and it shall be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have been before it. And the 12 kings shall reign in it, one after another. But the second that is to reign shall hold sway for a longer time than any other of the 12. And this is the interpretation of the 12 wings that you saw. As for your hearing a voice that spoke, coming not from the eagle's heads, but from the midst of its body, this is the interpretation. In the midst of the time of that kingdom, great struggles shall arise, and it shall be in danger of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not fall then, but shall regain its former power. For as you are seeing 8 little wings clinging to its wings, this is the interpretation. 8 kings shall arise in it, whose time shall be short, and their years swift. 2 of them shall perish when the middle of its time draws near, and 4 shall be kept for the time when its end approaches, and 2 shall be kept until the end. As for your seeing 3 heads at rest, this is the interpretation. In its last days the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they shall renew many things in it, and shall rule the earth, and its inhabitants more oppressively than all were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, because it is they who shall sum up his wickedness and perform his last actions. As for your seeing that the large head disappeared, one of the kings shall die in his bed, but in agonies. And as for the other 2 who remained, the sword, war, shall devour them. For the sword of one shall devour him who was with him, but he also shall fall by the sword in the last days. As for your seeing 2 little wings passing over to the head that was on the right side, this is the interpretation. In these whom the Most High has kept for the eagle's end, this was the reign which was brief and full of tumult, as you have seen. As for the lion whom you saw roaring up out of the forest, and roaring and speaking to the eagle and reproving him for his unrighteousness, as for all his words that you have heard, this is the Messiah whom the Most High has kept until the end of days, who will arise from the offspring of David, and will come and speak with them. He will denounce them for their ungodliness and for their wickedness, and will display before them their contemptuous dealings. For first he will bring them alive before his judgment seat, and when he has reproved them, then he will destroy them. But in mercy he will set free the remnant of my people, those who have been saved throughout my borders, and he will make them joyful until the end comes, the day of judgment, of which I spoke to you at the beginning. This is the dream that you saw, and this is its interpretation, and you alone were worthy to learn the secret of the Most High. Therefore write all these things that you have seen in a book, put it in a hidden place, and you shall teach them to the wise among your people, whose hearts you know are able to comprehend and keep these secrets. But as for you, wait here 7 days more, so that you may be shown whatever it pleases the Most High to show you. Then he left me. that event continues on to the end of the chapter. And there are 51 verses in that chapter. And we stopped at verse 39. You might want to get this and read it. It's a little bit different in the original Authorized King James Version. There are more verses in the modern English, this version of the modern English, the New Revised Standard Version, than there are in the original Old English. I think it's 72 more verses or 70 more verses in 2 Esdras. And those explain the order in modern English. Those missing verses explain the order for those who don't make it to salvation and the order for those who do make it to salvation. And it appears as though the footnote reveals to me that the original King James was from the Latin Vulgate. So it was interpreted from the Latin meant for the masses, for the people, and not for the priests. They hid this stuff, and it continues to be hidden. I hope and pray that this year we might see a good version, a proper version of the Apocrypha. It's a tall order. I'm not a Bible translator, but I will be talking with the publisher, and if I can, I will start the work myself with the hopes that somebody who really knows what they're doing, somebody greater than me, will end it and will take care of it. I believe that there's references throughout the main Bible about this nuclear war. It's in there, in spades. It's written in detail. There's also a biological war in here. You'll see that it's in the minor prophets in the Bible proper. We are definitely defeated as a nation. We stopped being a republic a long time ago. More than 100 years ago, we ceased to be a republic. They talk about the importance of our democracy so that you will forget that we're actually a republic. You will also find that they will not allow you to call yourself Caucasoids. You are not allowed to endorse yourself as and identify as Caucasian according to your states. You have to be called white. Why is that? Because they want you to forget why you're called Caucasians. You're named after the Caucasus mountain range. Why would they want us to forget that? Why would they want to deprive us of that historical fact? It sounds kind of important to me. I think they want to deprive us of that so we won't ask the obvious question. Gee, if we came across the Caucasus Mountains, where did we come from? And the answer to that is very simple, and they don't want you to know the truth. That's because they pulled off the biggest identity fraud, the biggest identity theft in history. They pretend they are the chosen ones. They pretend they are descendants of Israel, descendants of the tribes, descendants of the man Israel, and they aren't. They pulled off the biggest identity fraud. That's why we went after the German people, because Germany means genuine, and that they held the scepter. Judah held the scepter. They were to rule until the return of the Messiah. And so the evil ones went against Germany. It was the bad boys that went against Germany. You need to understand they've ruled us through deceit. Everything that we've been told pretty much is a lie. We're living on a bunch of frauds. You think that we're loved throughout the planet, that we're bringing freedom to people. We're not. We're oppressing them. We killed 1 million Iraqis in an illegal war based upon the lie. There were 2 lies. One of them was weapons of mass destruction. We hung that man. We murdered him over that false charge. And we hurt those people. And we have a war criminal alive today among us. And by the way, the first one was also on a false charge. Remember that we went into put out the oil well fires in Kuwait. All of those wells were ablaze. Oh my God, what a horrible man he was. As Bush Sr. said, I'd like to call him Saddam, as after Sodom and Gomorrah. He did his best to put it up Saddam Hussein's you-know-what. He put the screws to him. Oh, and one of the big lies was done by this woman from the Middle East, the ambassador's daughter. She would never lie. She wouldn't make something up about babies being pulled from incubators and being left to die on the cold floors. Yeah, another lie. But as far as those oil wells being set on fire while Saddam Hussein withdrew, no, he didn't do it. But we need an excuse to go after him. So guess who did it? Our own military did it. Our own non-commissioned officers took fast attack vehicles in there and lit those oil wells on fire. False flag. We have good witness to that. We've got good testimony for that. So the first war was illegal as hell. We suckered Saddam Hussein up into it. If we had actually listened to the CIA asset who had control over that area, she had it all set up. Saddam Hussein was going to buy 1 million vehicles from us every year. He was going to give us oil. Pretty much literally give it to us. He was going to do anything we wanted. Could you imagine how nice things would be today if we'd actually gone in that direction? You got evil bastards running the show today. Well, the only people that get anywhere close to their really sold out evil mother, you know what. So, this is my Christmas Eve, Xmas Eve. I don't celebrate Christmas because it's definitely a pagan holiday. You watch my other show, we'll give you one of the big events. But December 25th was also known as the birthday of Nimrod and the birthday of Tammuz and some of the other bad gods of the past. They give us that day so we celebrate their evil ones without knowing it. Jesus' birthday, he was born during the Feast of Tabernacles. There was no snow on the ground. The shepherds were out feeding their flocks in the open fields. I'm pretty sure he was born on September 11th. Now you know why they did that on September 11th. To obscure the birth of the Messiah, Yeshua. So what other lies are we believing in today? Did you know that when our nation was founded, the celebration of Christmas was illegal? It was against the law? Do you know why? Because it was a crime to close up your store and refuse to do business on that pagan holiday. When our nation was founded, we were Bible readers. We knew who we were. We hadn't lost our identity. Read the eulogy written about George Washington. Read that. That right there gives you witness to it. They took out the Apocrypha books from the Bible because those give witness to the truth as well. And you ladies who claim there's a marriage license, there isn't one in the Bible at large, but there is one in the Apocrypha. It's a marriage contract. It's quite a book. You need to read it. It's brief. It's quite a love story. And it's, you talk about drama. It's there. Buy my Bibles. My distant ancestor brought you the 1611 King James Bible. He oversaw the construction, the production of that Bible for King James, who wasn't a good guy. You want to know about King James? Go read the introduction. I think it was Thomas Dickerson. Anyway, you read the 4-page introduction one of them gave him in one of his books. The guy was pretty bad. And I know you're going to say he was wonderful. No, he wasn't. And the guy who worked for him was my ancestor. And that's been a secret. And my ancestor was not last name Kent in your history books. And most of his writing wasn't even done under the name he went by at the time. His name was Sir Francis Bacon. Sir Francis Bacon was named Bacon to hide his true lineage, because if he had been discovered, the queen, who was his mother, would have been put to death. She would have been beheaded for having had not one, but 2 boys out of wedlock. Evidently, she really loved Mr. Kent. So his name wasn't Kent, it was Sir Francis Bacon. The Queen Mother was his real mother. He did become an attorney. He wrote the plays of William Shakespeare, and they were popular because he told the truth. Just like today in the movies of today. They tell more truth there than they do in the mainstream media. Isn't that wild? Hollywood. Why is that? Because the CIA owns the CAA, Creative Actors Association. And even Bidenstein, Chi-Com Joe, is a signed agent with the CAA, Creative Actors Association. He's even got a contract with them because he's one of their biggest, best actors on that stage. You need to understand something, folks. We've been lied to. The CIA was started as the OSS by the British. They've never relinquished their mitts in us in any which way. That fellow who's going to be crowned king is not of the lineage of David. He's from the line of Esau, who became known as Edom. His family stole that throne a couple generations ago. Princess Diana Spencer had more legitimate claim to that throne than that family did. That's why they were so damn jealous of her, because they knew she was more entitled to that throne than the queen herself was. It's not what you think. The United States of America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. The Asiatic peoples, the peoples of the East, know more about your true nature, our true nature, than you do. They refer to us as a slave system, a slave society. Slavelandia. And we aren't free. We were supposed to be free. We were supposed to own patented land. We were each supposed to, by design at the beginning, we did have this, we had patented land. Patented land meant you owned all rights to it. It could not be taken from you. It could not be taxed. It could not be attached in any way for any debt. That's the way it was supposed to be. Just like in ancient Israel. Gee, there were 13 stars under the woman's feet. 13 colonies. 13 states. 13 tribes of Israel. Not 12. He had 12 boys, but remember, Joseph went to Egypt. Joseph had 2 sons, and Israel adopted Joseph's 2 boys, Ephraim and Manasseh, as his own. So you won't hear about the tribe of Joseph very much, but you'll hear about the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Manasseh. And you'll hear people tell you that the United States of America is not in the Bible. Yes, we are. We're mentioned towards the end of the book of Genesis. The great nation, one of Joseph's boys, was going to become a company of nations. The oldest was going to become a company of nations. That's the way I read it. Things do get a little crossed up. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, the cross of St. Andrew, you'll realize I'm talking literally, because Israel, the man who was born Jacob, crossed his arms when blessing his 2 boys. When giving the blessing, and Joseph, his son, protested because he wanted the oldest boy to get the blessing. And Israel told his son, I know it, my son. He's going to be a company of great nations. But the great nation, the seed blessing, was going to be the United States of America. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I consider that a real gem. And may you take this gem, this wisdom to heart. Buy my Bibles. Let me get the right one up here. This one. This one with the massive 14-point print. Oh, come on. You can read that for sure. By the way, I just opened up to Deuteronomy. What's the importance of Deuteronomy for America? All of our laws, everything. The most cited book in the entire Bible in the creation of our nation, of our republic, came from the book of Deuteronomy. By the way, the book of Leviticus repeats a lot of Deuteronomy, so there is a double witness. We got our laws from the book of the law. Our founders were each schooled in this. Follow the link below. I'm not asking you to give me any money. I'm not putting even commercials up in this. I'm not monetizing my channel. I don't want the extra scrutiny that might come with monetization, because I'll end up having to feed the beast system. I want to give you more value than you give me. I want to provide you with more value than you give me. I want to earn my own way. So do me a favor, buy my Bibles. I do get a little bit of money for the sale of the Bibles. I'd like to sell 1 million of them. We have a country of what, 370 million, including the illegals among us? And remember, for each abortion that we have committed, that we have permitted, we get to support an illegal alien. That is the sentence that Yahweh gave America. So you've got all of those extras. Now, how many abortions have been committed since 1974? And you still haven't learned your lesson. Now, they haven't made abortion illegal, much like those jackass Democrats claim. Don't worry, the Republicans, they're just another wing of the same damn dirty bird. It's one party, it's a uni-party. Look at Mitch McConnell. Look at how they're funding and spending and blowing up our currency so they can destroy us from within. You see, this isn't a typical war. It's not typical. They will nuke us if they can do it. Why? Because you're waking up. Go to my other channel, Awakening Israel. You're wakening up and they know what's coming. They know their time is short. But you need to understand they still got the power. They can still nuke our asses. And even Putin warned us a decade ago, back when this started, keep your guns. He told us. Putin said that. Now, how is it that our enemy tells us to keep our armaments? He knows that we're ruled by the evil ones. We have one world order today. Through the banking system, the international bankers took it over. And they are Jews. They say they are Jews and are not. Even the Bible declares the truth. Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. I know you who say you are Jews. Yahshua, Jesus the Christ, says this. John the Apostle on the island of Patmos writes it down and gives us the book of Revelations. And the phrase immediately after that is, I shall make you the synagogue of Satan. And the other one says, but are of the synagogue. And are of the synagogue of Satan. You don't know what the synagogue of Satan is? Go to my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com. Look up the tab, World History in one picture, in a picture. Look at the 3 symbols right there today. I'm not going to tell you anymore. You got to do something on your own. Go look at that picture. Save that picture. Look at it. Study it. Look at those 3 symbols. 3 in 1. Look at the sign of the Ukraine today. May Yahweh bless America, and may He restore our republic. May we get control over this place and cease the shenanigans across the world. Stop the deception. Love truth and justice and the American way.